Some of the most damaged people give the best advice. And another thing is don't be afraid to fail. I don't know about you. I learn more from my failures than I do from my successes. And if I'm not failing, then I'm not trying.
Some men rise, some men fall. Some help others to reach the top, while others stand watch. Who are we? We are the risk takers. We are the fighters. The regular everyday men, the downtrodden, and the uprisen. And this is The Daddy Show. Alright everybody, welcome back to The Daddy Show here. We've got episode 2, Being Good at Being a Man. And I've got my good buddy Roy here helping out, going over some stuff. And we're just going to talk, two guys, just hashing it out. So, welcome Roy, appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me. I definitely want to preface this conversation with I am no expert. I feel like I'm winging it half the time. I may not say or do the right things, but I feel like at the core of it all, being a man is showing up every day, showing your support and mean what you say. Actions speak louder than words. And so if we're at a point where we all are still learning together, then this is what this is for sure. I'm here just as much to learn as someone watching this video is. So don't feel like I'm in any different position than you are. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, no, that's one thing I wanted to say as well. Is I'm obviously no expert, as you know, and just hoping to help some other people trudge the way through the mud here.
Same. It is in the trenches some of the times, yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The trenches get deep some days.
It does. It's
for
heavy.
Some more than others. So, yeah, hopefully we can start off here providing somewhat of a what's the word I'm looking for? A roadmap, I guess.
Yeah.
For a way to get started, and and obviously we'll go into deeper stuff if you want to be more involved or whatever, and I may end up doing some monologues and stuff, but yeah, we'll see how this goes. So, I guess we'll start with the first point that I listed in the last video, and that was being good is proactive. It's not just sitting at home doing nothing. And just so everybody knows, by the way, I got all my points here were basically taken from Dry Creek Wrangler School. So I'll put the link to his channel in the description. Definitely go check him out. So, we're just basically taking some of the points that he made and expanding on those. So anyway, back to it. I think go ahead.
Just kind of having a conversation really on a lot of these points will help out a lot. And being good is being proactive. As a father and as a stepdad, I'm always trying to think of things we can do as a family, and also things, how can I help my kids out and steer them in the right directions too, with the right set of friends. You have to let them make their own decisions too. And so it's always kind of a fine balance. But at the heart, I relate a lot to Clark Griswold of the vacation movies. I feel like I'm an over the top planner, and it never seems to go that way, but at least I have a plan kind of going forward. So I think being good is being proactive, and that means a lot to me, because I do try to think of my family and others before myself, and how it helps us all grow and bond. So,
well, that's a great point. I thought of it more from the standpoint of good versus evil, and if you're just not being bad and not being good, you're dead center, which is the point that Dwayne made on the Dry Creek Wrangler School. You're basically just sitting there stagnant. But to your point, that's a really great point. That planning things out and having a goals set for either your future or your day, whatever it may be. I didn't even think about that perspective.
And that's good. That's what this is all about. Is every situation is different too. Every person's a little different, and so but yeah, like I said, I I I plan a lot, and it doesn't go that way. But I think even a bad plan is a good start. So I really like that point, and that's something I've really been thinking a lot about. So
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, I think that being proactive encompasses is, you know, doing doing unto others. You see an old lady crossing the street, helping her get across the street, or helping somebody with their groceries, or helping the neighbor who just lost their job.
absolutely, you are at your tallest when you stoop to help others. And that is very true there. Yes.
Who's that from? I don't even
I
know.
am not I am
I've,
not really sure. I saw it hanging up in a office cubicle one time, and that has stuck with me forever. But I think I'm a shorter guy, and so I thought it was funny to read that because but it's not actually stooping. You're not higher. No one is higher than anyone on any level other than in height. But but it has kind of stuck with me, and I think it does something really good for your soul when you're helping others. And I know when the trenches get deep, my circle gets pretty small, and I just make sure my family is first and foremost. And but yeah, absolutely that outreach and exactly what we're doing here, helping build other men up and help them out into their times too, is only going to help all of us. So
yeah, yeah, and that's the point of doing all this. If anybody out there is lost or confused or feels alone, that's really what this is all for and what this is about. Um, yeah, because I think there's a lot of young men yearning for authentic examples, yearning for fellowship. That's very important to us as humans. Um, and just having good examples before you and seeing how they act, what they do, and in various situations is definitely helpful. So that's what this is all about.
absolutely. Yeah, I think we touched on it earlier that the sense of community is missing a lot, and I don't know if that is social media, if the times have just kind of changed, but yeah, I would love to start bringing that back, and this is where we start. I think you're doing great work, and this is a great first step for sure.
I think so. I hope people get a lot out of it.
Same.
Yeah, and honestly, if it helps one person, I'm
Then it was
happy.
worth it. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I guess that kind of leads into the second point because I think the ideology of helping just one man is a good thing. Um, Leads into this really well. That being a good man, is being a dangerous man.
I I like this one a lot. I have a martial arts background, and I had a really good sensei, a really good teacher, who was a cop, a detective, and the respect from martial arts and a good teacher as well is going to help you out in so many facets of life. But um, being a dangerous man doesn't necessarily mean um, knowing how to take someone down. I mean, it's not necessarily a physical thing. It is for me. It is more having the tools, but also the restraint to make sure that not only is your family safe, but that your family's needs and your needs aren't you're not being taken advantage of. And that's something that can kind of easily happen if you aren't proactive, if you aren't watching and so being dangerous, that's kind of a double-edged sword because there's also being restrained too, and knowing when to use those tools and when to hold back. So
Yep. No, absolutely. That's perfect. And that's kind of how Dwayne put it when I saw his video. As he was saying, don't be a threat, but be a dangerous man. And if somebody, he said, if somebody spoke out against his wife or his daughters or whatever, he's prepared and has the tools and the willingness to protect them. And if he has to get physical, he will.
Yep. Amen.
And I think we all have, most of us, I think anyway, have that primal instinct somewhere in us. And honestly, I think sports are good at bringing that out. I've noticed that, playing hockey and things, it feels good to, beat up on some people that are maybe a little bit bigger than you that you wouldn't tackle on the street, but you can hit them on the ice. And it's kind of fun, and it feels good, and you walk off the ice giving each other high fives and you're best of friends, even though you were just pushing each other around. I think it gets some of that primal instinct out and helps us to better control, when we feel more out of control or when a situation hits us that we don't need that kind of response.
Sure, that's the fight or flight, and but knowing when to use those tools, and also to not let pride get in the way too. I think that's I think that's kind of a dangerous emotion there. It's good to be proud, but um, know where your limits are, know where you need to plant your feet at, and make sure it's the right time. And it's not about win or lose. It's about morals. It's about, what that means to you, and making sure that you don't feel disrespected, walked over. But like I said, knowing when to use those tools and knowing that situation is I think the most important part of that.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. 100% correct on that. So yeah, the other thing that Dwayne had said, and I think is true, is that if you can't protect your family, you don't deserve to have it. And I mean, I agree and disagree with that, but I get the point that he's trying to make, is that if you're not willing to step up and put yourself between an aggressor or a tyrant or whatever it is, whatever that other obstacle is, if you're not willing to step between them and your family to protect your family, then you shouldn't have a family.
Yeah, that's and it's not so much as uh can you beat up five guys that have disrespected your old lady. That is very much, if you're not willing to put in the time and to stand up when it needs to happen, then you don't deserve it. And that is really powerful there. Yeah, just an example is, I wait a long time before I tell someone I love them, because I don't take those words lightly, because that, for me, that means you are the hill that I'm willing to die on. Um, and uh, and there's a lot of weight behind that, and that encompasses all of their family and baggage that comes with it too. I mean, so there's kind of a different kind of take on that. But yeah, absolutely. If you're not willing to stand up, then you don't get to reap the benefits of it. You don't deserve those. So that's deep.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And that, yeah, like you said, it's multifaceted. And, we have things coming at us and from many directions each and every day.
This is good. This is great, just to expand, just to really think about what it means. And I mean, this is the start of it all. If you're here watching this video, kudos. You're one of us. I mean, good for you. You're willing to die on this hill to be to do what it takes to be a man. So this is great. This is great for me. So thank you.
Yeah, no, not a problem. And, why, since you said that, I'll kind of go into something else that I was probably going to bring up maybe in another episode, but hopefully people will find this video now and watch the future episodes, because I would like to go into stuff that does include women, and that this doesn't have to be for men only. It's first and foremost to help other men, but I'd like to help women understand men as well and kind of understand the place that I think men have in the world and where that fits in, and where women kind of complement that. Obviously men and women are, I think, both have different skill sets and natural things that they excel at over the other.
Sure.
No one is better than the other, and we will never say that men are better than women or women are better than men. Um, so I want to get that out. But yeah, I definitely want women to watch this too, because there will be some stuff down the road that I think will be helpful to them as well. So
I I think a woman's thought process is very intricate, and to that extent, I feel like they're a lot more intelligent than I am because just they they think a little bit more broadly. But no, I think that's awesome because a lot of a lot of what being a man is should absolutely complement the woman. So
yep, absolutely, yeah, and vice versa, and I think that's something we've lost in society, and I think a lot of that is deliberate. And I mean, if you look at all of history, all of human history, the struggles we're having today are the struggles that have existed throughout history with
sure, yeah,
certain elites or sets of people, oppressing others and holding people back and changing societal norms, and then the people getting them back, and it's a
yeah,
revolving door. And
yeah,
I think we're at one of those points where we've gotten away from the discipline of the nuclear family unit, and just some of the core things that make we as people thrive, you know, and as individuals as well as a group. And right now we're all kind of floundering because we've gotten away from that. And
yeah.
so,
Yeah, I think we've taken a few steps back, and I think that's a great kind of uh, multi-episode that we could really pull off that because that's the deep rabbit hole. So
yeah, yeah, that's a really deep one. And
yes, yeah, that kind of takes us to point number three is be educated. It's tough today. There's a lot in front of us, and there is a world at your fingertips here, and you know, information, misinformation. You gotta do some digging on every facet these days, is and make the best decision for you and your family. I mean, I am who am I to say what's right for you and your family? And that's, that's a lot of what it is to me. And if you're anything like me and you're watching this and you're overwhelmed, I completely agree with you there because there's only so many hours in the day, but you have to make it a point to try to be current with things so that you aren't blindsided when change starts to happen, whether it's inside the family, outside the family. You've got to be proactive with it.
that was, yeah, I couldn't have said that better myself. you know, yeah, you're right. We always have to be learning everything. And I think that's what makes it kind of daunting sometimes is there's so many different things we need to know and learn, but it doesn't have to happen overnight. It's like learning to maintain your car. You don't necessarily learn that overnight, and you don't need to learn that the same day you maybe are learning about some history. You can kind of pick and choose, but as long as you're pushing forward, trying to learn either new things or get better at the things you already know, I think that's a good start. But yeah, if you're not learning something, you're just falling behind.
Sure. I mean, you can look at that as a very broad statement, and we could say things like, well, a man should know how to frame a wall and change the oil and the brakes on a vehicle. And while I do agree with that, I think everyone also has a skill set that and in what they like to focus on, and so to that point, to be educated, always push yourself. I mean, sitting idle is a dangerous place to be in for sure. And b- I just can't press more in these times to be educated in politics and what the world is changing, what's happening around you, because we need to be a part of this change and try to get it in the direction that we feel needs to happen, and we need to collectively come together on what that is. So this is what this communication's about.
Yeah, and to that point, I'm throwing around the idea of maybe getting a way, maybe through Discord or something, a way for a bunch of us to get on at once and have just random people get on and literally just have a conversation.
That'd be
Maybe,
nice. A nice round table. Yeah.
yeah, and people have questions or whatever, especially younger people. I mean, I know we're not that old, but we're getting there. We're working on it. But
I'm
yeah,
not succumbing to it yet. I'm not.
yeah, yeah. Mentally, I never will.
Exactly. Well, and that's another good point too. Don't lose your youth. I mean, the world is going to beat you down at every step, and so make sure that you still find you're happy and you still got time for you, and in general, being man's pretty heavy, but you got to make you time too. And so being educated is really just pushing yourself in whatever facet that is that moves you forward towards a goal that you need to be at, that you'd like to see yourself and your family too. So
I agree. So I guess the next point would be calm, is the fourth point here, and not just being calm, but guarding your calm and having control of it, and knowing when people get in the midst of your calm, get your feathers all ruffled, that you maybe need to step away. Is that really worth being upset over? And calm, being calm kind of goes with being dangerous, because usually the most calm, quietest guy in the room is sometimes the guy that can end up being the most dangerous.
absolutely. Still waters run deep, I think is the saying. Um, I I I am a big fan of Bruce Lee, and I know I'm not quoting it right, but he was he was very much an advocate for the cool head wins the fight. Um, and something I've noticed in myself and others is that by the time you get a bad news or something happens to you, by the time your brain registers that, you are already reacting to your reaction to it. And so you've got to be careful in what that reaction is, and what that information that your brain just processed is, and what that means to you. Uh, and I'd also like to say, on just the very base level, at being calm is that's this is for me, this is the best step in what we're talking about here, because um you can't lose your cool. That nothing you go into fight or flight mode, you're not thinking straight, and that's when things happen out of anger. And there there's this old there's an old teacher that squeezed out a thing of toothpaste, and then she asked the students to put the toothpaste back into the container, and they couldn't. I mean, they could get a little bit of it back in there, but by the time you've done something in anger, you've squeezed that toothpaste out, and there's no putting it back. So, that's that's a fine line we have to walk for sure, and that's something. And I really like what you said, where keep your calm guarded too. I think that's excellent. That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah, that was all from Dwayne there. That was a
Mhm.
perfect point, I thought, when I
It
heard it.
is.
Yeah, because if we don't guard our space, guard our bubble, as some people would put it. Um, you know, all sorts of things will get into it. Cell phones are a great example of that, and I think that's a lot of what people struggle with today, and a lot of what the young guys are struggling with is everything is at your fingertips, like you said earlier, and there's so many distractions and so many things that you can look at. 300 apps on your phone, and if all of them have a notification, you want to go into each one of them, and you're either not getting things done you need to get done, or you're letting things get you, all riled up when maybe they don't need to.
Yeah. Yeah, guard your calm. I like that a lot. I'm gonna start thinking about that a lot. I like it.
Yep. And to the point you were making earlier too, I guess I should probably go into detail on, what would exemplify not guarding your calm, and I've got a good example. I'm pretty calm these days, and I know I was hyper as a kid, and you can attest to that. So I've definitely calmed down a lot, but when I was in my 20s, early 20s, when I was doing the race car, I remember getting mad at something, and it wasn't even a make it or break it kind of thing. It wasn't like, because it was actually at the house working on the car, and something stupid had happened. And I got so mad, I grabbed the vice grips and I threw them, and they ended up hitting my parents' downspout and put a hole in the downspout.
Oh,
And
man.
so, I mean, that's a perfect example of losing your cool and not guarding your calm over something stupid. I mean, it really wasn't a big deal. It's not like it was something that would have kept me from racing, or, you know, made me lose a bunch of money or anything like that. It was literally just maybe I don't know if I hit my knuckles or what it was, but it was something really stupid.
I in that moment I can understand, and there's something about when, especially when physically you hurt yourself and you throw out some some curse words, but it does seem to help the pain a little bit. But but in guarding your calm, yeah, how far is that anger really going to push? How far are you going to let that anger take a hold of you and push you? So yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
yeah. That I look at it too. I mean, number one, if somebody was standing there, I could have seriously hurt them.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
but number two, I see it more of as the difference between an insecure puppy and a mature, secure dog. If you look at the way they act, an immature puppy is likely to bark and make a lot of noise, you know,
Sure.
run around, cower in the corner, whereas a nice mature dog is going to stand there and watch the situation and react accordingly. And I think
Yeah.
that's what guarding our calm is all about.
Yeah. And again, going back to being proactive. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, and that's a good point. Yeah, recognizing when you're losing your calm
Yep.
and knowing yourself well enough to know to back down, or is this warranted, and if not, I need to calm myself down and take a step back and maybe come back at it later.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amen. Yep. Take a walk, punch a punching bag. I mean, yeah, do whatever you got to
Yeah.
do to find your center again, so you can come back and address the situation accordingly, and in a way that you're going to be proud of later. So
That's a good way to put it too, in a way that'll make you proud.
yeah.
Yep, for sure. The fifth thing on here was be wise, and Dwayne said it really well when he said, "Wisdom is knowing how to apply what you know, not what you know." So it's not the thing that you know, but it's the application of the thing you know. So I thought that was an excellent quote.
It is. When you think of wisdom, you think intelligence plus age, and I guess at a base formula it is. But I know some people a lot older than me that don't have it together. And the same things kind of keep happening to them too, and so that's a lot of where that wisdom falls into place. At at my job, what I do is it's different every day, but it's similar enough to where I have to take what I've learned yesterday, last week, a year ago, and apply that to what I have now. And that is definitely a trait that you have to proactively work on. I like that word a lot now. You really have to consciously be be moving towards that.
Yeah, and to, like what you said, and to expound upon some of that with, thinking that age means wisdom, and that as I've gotten older and a little bit wiser, that I've come to realize, and as I know you have as well, that we're all damaged goods. We've all got something,
Yeah, yeah,
and some of us, some people, grow out of it, learn from it, move on, mature more, become more wise, and take something away from it, and some don't. Some stay stuck in that situation,
yeah. They
and
just keep repeating that cycle.
some people, stay stuck at a teenage emotional level, and that's how they handle things, is the same way a teenager would, even though they're in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah,
Um, so those people do exist, and I think being proactive to try to become wiser on purpose, deliberately, um, can help you, number one, not be that way yourself, but also help you recognize it in other people, so that you know kind of how to deal with them as well.
sure, absolutely. Some of the most damaged people give the best advice. Um, and another thing is don't be afraid to fail. I don't know about you. I learn more from my failures than I do from my successes. And if I'm not failing, then I'm not trying. I'm not trying hard enough. Um, and so that it definitely is it definitely is more than just age, although as things happen to you, as you see things happen around you, that does give you wisdom to as to how to approach it next time, but you've got to learn what that means for you and how to change it, how to break that cycle.
Yeah. Robert Kiyosaki says that in Rich Dad's Guide to a Millionaire. I think he says it. I think he says it in the Cash Flow Quadrant as well. But he basically says the same thing, that you can't be afraid to fail. And he learned more from losing $1 million than he did from making $1 million.
Man,
And it sounds like before he was truly a millionaire that kept his money. I think he'd lost over $1 million at least once before he made it
true.
back. And obviously he's doing quite well. And if people out there haven't heard of him, definitely go look him up and check out the Cash Flow Quadrant. And that's actually a really good book. That's a good series. All those books that he's written about that are very good. So that would go back to being educated on the financial side. So
Yeah.
very helpful stuff there from him.
Yeah, money's kind of one of those things where it's a necessary evil and but at the core of it, be happy with life. Make sure that um as being wise, make sure that you know where your happiness is. Don't let money drive it. But man, to lose $1 million, I think I'd be taking some pretty good notes there. So I would make sure that wouldn't happen again.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah. He's a super smart guy. Got a lot of good things to say, and I think a lot of the establishment discounts him because he does have a lot of good things to say, and
Yeah,
a lot of things that are very helpful, really. In fact, his book is what made me want to get into real estate and things in my 20s. I didn't do it because I'm an idiot, but it laid the groundwork for it, and the plan that I still have in my head, that if I ever get enough money to do it, that's exactly what I would do. Is follow some of the plan that he lays out in some of his books. So
and I'm assuming you are talking about more real estate investment rather than real estate, like a
right,
realtor or a broker
right,
looking
yeah,
at
not
real.
as a
Yeah,
realtor. Yeah, real estate is
yeah,
investments and rental properties, and
yeah,
yeah, using your business to buy assets instead of your own your credit. Yep.
Sure. Yeah, let your money work for you. I'm willing to bet there are more life lessons in that than financial lessons in what he has to offer. So,
Yep. Yeah, no, it
yeah,
goes pretty deep.
yeah.
Well, that goes with this other quote from Dwayne. He just, I don't know, he's impressive. He really impressed me, and all the videos I've seen of his, I haven't watched every video on his channel, but the ones I have watched are all very insightful. And he says, if you were to leave this world tomorrow, would you leave a hole?
Yeah, nice. Yeah, we're not promised tomorrow at all. So, yeah, that's another deep one. Yeah, we could get into that a lot.
Well, I want to get kind of circle back to being a dangerous man, because there's one thing that I had written down here that I forgot to bring up, and it was
Go
something
for
that
it.
Jordan Peterson brought up in one of his videos. And he was saying, thinking the way your adversary does helps you, because if not for that, you can go, or sorry, if not for that, they can go places you can't. And so that made me think of, if anybody's seen, it's an older movie now, but seen the movie Street Kings, Detective Tom Ludlow in that movie, he's that guy that goes where the law's gray areas exist in order to bring about a good
Got
outcome. You
gotcha.
know, where he
Yeah.
breaks the law to, you know, at the very beginning of the movie, he breaks the law to find a couple of twins. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm sorry, spoiling that for you. But but you know, it's in the community that's seen as a good thing, finding these girls that were kidnapped and were being
Sure.
bad things were being done to them on the internet. And so it's a good thing for him to have broken the law to make that happen. And so
Yeah.
I think being able to think as your adversary does is important, and I struggle with that. I assume everybody's as good hearted as I am, and
Same.
it's just not the case.
Yeah, we just touched on this the other day where I feel like some people can kind of judge situations and what things are going to happen a whole lot better than I can. And so yeah, I've really kind of been reflecting on why that is and what sort of skill set I need um to better help myself there. To be able to guard my calm and to be a dangerous man when it needs to be. And it goes right back to being educated. I need to figure out why. So
Yeah, I mean, the being proactive, being a dangerous man, and being educated all kind of fit together
yeah,
as almost
absolutely.
almost one thing. Because if you proactively seek out the education on your adversary on how
Yep,
you can be dangerous to them,
yep. You're
I
already
mean,
more
you've
dangerous. Yep,
got the 3 points figured out right there.
yep, yep. So yeah, if you're watching this video, you are proactively learning how to guard your calm, be a dangerous man. You're educating yourself, and you are learning what it takes to use some of that wisdom, to use some of that intelligence so that you can break cycles and you can keep bettering yourself, your family, your friends, everyone around you. So,
Yep. Well, that goes kind of to another quote from Jordan Peterson. Dude's got a lot of them. He said, "A harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very, very dangerous man who has that under voluntary control."
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, that's
just and it goes back to what we said about being proactive. Just because you're not harming somebody and you're just sitting at home, you know, being what we call
yeah,
good, you know, being a good person, that doesn't make you a dangerous man. It doesn't make you a good man. It just makes you a male who's not being bad.
yep, yep. And to that point, actions speak louder than words too. We can sit here and and think we're good people because I don't, because I don't do this, but start tipping your good book in the right direction here. So let's all get in this together and help each other out. So
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and hopefully
yeah,
if anybody has anything to add or to say, you'll put those down in the comments for us. That'd be awesome.
please, we're not rambling here at all. So
Yeah, yeah. No, and I guess to kind of go into detail on that too, you know, if people wonder what this is really going to be about or what these episodes are going to be about. You know, some will be more focused than others, and some will literally just be a couple of friends sitting here talking about life and what it's like. Mostly because, from my perspective, growing up, I had this illusion of what life was going to be like, and that once you got out of high school and college and you graduated, you know, you got your job, your family, everything went beautiful, and it's wonderful. And then that's just not the case at all. Life is not like that at all, and we all get thrown some curveballs, and how you deal with those is what shape who you are, and the character that you've built over time will influence the outcome for you. So, and that's what I think we're trying to do here, is just be authentic examples and give people examples of situations that happen in real life and how we got through those, so maybe they can learn to do it too. So
yeah, we kind of broadly hit a lot of topics here, and I think a lot of people felt the same way as you. I know I did, and maybe some people get stuck because they think after school is you know, it goes in order. You got to have a car and a job, a house, and then you have a family, and so yeah, a lot of people kind of got stuck into situations where they hadn't really thought about it. They weren't educated and didn't know kind of where they were supposed to end up. And so I, I would love to kind of dig deep on a couple things, because you know, we've been through some crap now, and if it helps someone else out, then that's what I'm here for sure. So
yeah, and to that point, if anybody has any questions or things they'd like to see discussed, definitely put that in the comments as well, and we'll do our best to try to throw that in. We do have some things that, you know, that I do plan to talk about, things like a nuclear family unit, involvement in multi-generational activities, the fact that teaching and mentoring and learning is constant. We'll go into some deep stuff on things like pornography and some of the more taboo subjects. Not right out of the gate, but we'll get to that eventually. For those that may be struggling with that, we hope to help some people out there as well. But yeah, that's basically some of the ideas for the future. So if anybody has anything other than that, please definitely let us know.
Yeah, if there's anything that I can add to help anyone else out, I'd love to know what other people are struggling with, and let's get together. Let's put our heads together. And you quoted something on the intro video that I loved, and as iron sharpens iron, so does one man sharpen another man. So let's get together. Let's get this wheel turning. Let's start sharpening our tools up.
Oh, so I did have a story I wanted to share from, and I don't know if I've ever told you this story actually, about doing something manly. So to give people an example of what does a manual what does a manly gesture look like. And so I was out with a friend, it's actually a mutual friend of ours, at a place called Tebow Creek down at Lake of the Ozarks. Actually, it wasn't even Lake of the Ozarks. It was off of Truman Lake. And we're out there hanging out at the bar, and out of nowhere, they turn all the lights on, and this biker guy, this very manly-looking biker guy, stands up, yells out to everyone, gets everyone's attention, and he turns and says, "This MFer stole my helmet, and he's here to make it right." And he totally called this guy out. I mean, he went off on this guy for 5 or 6 minutes in front of the whole bar. And so this small guy finally gets the mic and gives an apology to this guy and hands him $300 to pay for the helmet that he, I guess, took off this guy's bike when it was parked out in front of the bar. And he took it out and like threw it in the lake.
Wow.
Yeah, so anybody watching this, don't mess with a biker's helmet. That is not smart. The guy's lucky that he didn't get beat up, to be honest. And I think the only reason he didn't is because he apologized, told the guy he'd pay for it, and the guy said, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it publicly. And so the kid showed up, he took the beating, the verbal beating, he paid the money, he apologized, and everybody was good to go after that. And so I think that's a good lesson for all of us, that we're going to make mistakes, we're going to do stupid stuff. Probably, for him, it was probably under the influence of alcohol. But when we make mistakes, we have to own up to it. And that's part of being a man. You have to own up to your mistakes and move on.
I think I started out with, I may not say or do the right things as a man, but I will show up every day. And kudos to that kid who took the guy's helmet to man up and do what it had to take and swallow his pride. And wow, yeah, that's pretty heavy. Yeah.
I mean, that biker, he was so mad. Even in that moment, it was, you could see he physically wanted to just pummel this kid, who was about half his size. I mean,
oh man.
I mean, 2 hits and the kid might have been dead. I mean, the dude was huge. But to stand there and take it like he did, it was pretty amazing. So I think that's a great lesson.
That it didn't start out that way, but that ended as a very manly gesture. You owned up. I screwed up. I've screwed up at work. I'll be the first to say that was me. So kudos to him. I can imagine what was going through his head.
Oh yeah, he wasn't shaking nearly enough. Like
I imagine.
I was shaking for him.
Oh man.
Yeah, but it was funny though, because afterwards, I kind of felt like in Dumb and Dumber, when he pops the champagne cork and it kills the owl, and he goes, "Man, his party sure died." That's kind of how I felt.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't say that too.
No, I wasn't gonna say a darn thing after that went down. See, that goes back to being wise.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. That is.
When in a bar with 4 or 5 pissed off bikers, don't be a smartass.
Absolutely. So was the kid who stole the helmet, he was not a dangerous man, and he was not a proactive one, right?
Right.
But he was pretty good at being calm, and that was a very wise decision on his. So in the end, at the end of the day, kudos, he'll be able to sleep well at night.
Yeah. There's a quote that reminds me of a quote from you know how my brain works. I kind of jump all over the place. It reminds me of a quote from The Road to Perdition, when the old Irishman that basically owns the whole town, runs everything, the old Irish mobster, he comes to the kid and pays him for something that he owed him from a dice game they were playing the night before. And he says, a man always keeps his word and always pays his debts, as he hands the kid the money. And of course, the keeping his word part had to do with other things that happened in the movie. If you haven't seen Road to Perdition, I highly recommend seeing it. But so it had a double entendre for sure. But I still think it holds true. The true man does keep his word. If you say you're going to do something, you follow through and you do it. And if you can't make it happen, you own up to it. And you try to make it right as best you can. And and you always pay your debts.
Yeah, your word is your bond. I mean, our voice is what we've got. So yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's been lost on a lot of people these days too, is accountability. The abdication of responsibility is killing us as a society.
Yeah.
And then just people don't seem to care about keeping their word.
Yeah.
It's not a currency anymore.
Yeah.
And it should be. I mean, yeah, you're only as good as your word, and if your word isn't worth a dang, then you're not worth a dang.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, well, sweet. I think that's all the notes I got written down, so we've exhausted those at least.
That's good. I think all in all, we hit it pretty broad, but I hope there's some snippets in there that help someone out, because like I said, I've been through it, and I've been down and needed help, and so the bigger of a community we can reach to is exactly what the point of this should be. So
yeah, no, that's exactly what I want. And, we're, like you said, we're just in the beginning stages of this, episode 2 here, and really kind of getting a feel for ourselves and the direction we're going. And yeah, like you said, hoping to just kind of get the conversation started at this point, and lay down the building blocks to really help people down the road in the future, and cover some things in greater depth in a way that hopefully help people with things they're struggling with. So
sure, and we'd love to know what that is too.
yes,
so,
yep,
yeah,
awesome. Well, we appreciate everybody watching the video. If you made it this far, we truly appreciate it.
Yeah,
and hopefully we've earned a like and a subscribe. If not, no harm, no done, or no harm, no foul. And we're not here to get subscriptions and likes. We're here to help people. So if we do, great. If not, oh well. We tried, and we're gonna keep trying. Absolutely. Darn it. So yeah. So hope you keep tuning in to future episodes, and we thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.